A woman suddenly stripped in the middle of the street and walked straight into traffic. A driver swerved to avoid her, lost control, and sent his passenger flying out of the car. A woman in the opposite lane panicked, slammed the gas, and crashed head-on. But the woman who caused the pileup stood calmly in the middle of the road, showering herself as if nothing had happened. Her bizarre behavior made the police think of a man she had spoken to just moments earlier, a man who had put her into a hypnotic trance with just one sentence and a simple hand gesture.
Trust me, it's like a furnace.
Then he approached two officers escorting Cash and used the same trick, casually saying, "Hot day today." Instantly, both cops looked dazed. Watching from the surveillance room, Jack sensed something was wrong and rushed outside. Earlier that morning, they had received an anonymous tip that someone planned to rob the bank not for the cash, but for a specific safety deposit box, number 23. At first Jack thought it was a prank, but in the past week, two banks had already been hit, and in both cases only a safety deposit box was taken while the cash was untouched. Suspicious. Jack and his team had been staking out the bank since dawn. Trusting his instincts, Jack went inside to inspect box 23 himself. At that moment, Jeff, a skilled hypnotist, appeared at the counter.
Morning. It's late afternoon.
It is late afternoon.
After controlling the bank clerk, he made the employee abandon his post. The two hypnotized officers stormed into the bank with guns drawn, throwing the place into chaos. But Jack had already secured box 23. When he opened it, all he found was a single photograph of his daughter, who had been missing for years. Before Jack could process what it meant, the hypnotized clerk had already entered the vault. Jack drew his gun and ordered him to stop, but the clerk ignored him completely and flashed a strange smile. Then the two hypnotized transport officers appeared and, without hesitation, shot Jack to the floor. The three of them walked out of the bank like nothing happened. After getting the target box, the woman drove straight into the pileup scene and crashed into the wrecked cars. Moments later, Jeff arrived casually and, without anyone noticing, swapped the clerk's box for a bomb. By the time Jack caught up, the entire scene had already been blown apart. He immediately turned and chased Jeff. Jack and his partner cornered him on a rooftop, but Jeff stayed completely calm.
But I'm the wrong man.
Suddenly, Jack's partner turned his gun on him. Jack was stunned, but he still pulled out the photo of his daughter and demanded answers. Jeff checked the box and found it empty. Just then, another officer arrived, and Jeff, not wanting to stay, whispered a single sentence.
Clean this up, detectives.
The two officers immediately turned their guns on each other and opened fire. Jeff then jumped off the 100-story building, but when Jack ran to the edge and looked down, there was no body, nothing at all. At that point, Jack could no longer tell what was real and what was an illusion. One thing was clear, everything was connected to his daughter's disappearance. As a detective, Jack had spent 4 years with no trace of his kidnapped daughter, and now that a clue had surfaced, he wasn't going to let anything slip away. Soon, another officer tracked down the anonymous tipster, and Jack went to investigate. To his surprise, the informant was also a hypnotist. With just a few words, she could make a grown man break down in tears, and that same man was one of her regular clients. He stood outside her shop, guarding the entrance because he feared Jack would hurt her. When the woman heard Jack was asking about Jeff, her face turned pale and she tried to force him out. But Jeff had already slipped behind the big man. Just as Jack was being pushed away, the man suddenly charged at him on a motorcycle. The woman instantly realized Jeff had taken control of him and knew there was no point questioning him anymore. Sure enough, after carrying out the attack, the man killed himself. To protect the woman and uncover Jeff's identity, the police brought her to the station. She explained to Jack that everything was simply the power of hypnosis, but he wasn't convinced, so she demonstrated it on the spot. She told Jack's partner to sit, and he sat. She told him to imagine he was a prisoner, and the man immediately broke down sobbing, clutching his head. No matter how Jack shouted, he couldn't snap him out of it. Only then did Jack truly believe. But what he never expected was that the woman standing in front of him was actually his wife, and everything he had been through was part of an elaborate deception.